Yo, what's up? It's Angus. Over the years, I've posted my rig rundown of what I use here on Trans-Siberian Orchestra every year, and it hasn't changed much in the last couple of years. The only thing that's really changed this year is I got Rem here working with me now.
What's happening, y'all?
How you doing? But I have had a couple of people ask, hey, like, what are you actually using in the Axe FX3, and what are the models and how am I implementing it? So I was going to do that. I'm going to run a little screen recording. There aren't going to be any sound samples here. This is mostly based on folks coming to the show and saying complimentary things about the tone, and I figured I'd just give you my tips, and for what it's worth. It's all subjective. If you like it, cool. Here we go. So this is the main preset. I don't really use that many presets in the show. The main preset comes the most often. You can see here it's main. I have a special for Lost Christmas Eve. This alt is basically the main preset with a slight update. Is there a duck in here? The SG preset is for when I'm using the Tony Iommi special. Then I have the alt patch again. First Snow has a special clean patch. And alt in Russians. What else happens? We're not using that. Oh, and then the show's over, right? We're just skipping that one, I guess. Then This Christmas Day, main, and we're not using the acoustic preset. So you can see it's kind of the same preset over and over again. And here's the main one. And essentially what I'm just using, the patches just get dirtier when you go from scene 1 to scene 4. Scene 1 is the basic crunch sound. Scene 2 is a slightly tighter version of the crunch sound. Scene 3 is a boosted, gainier version of the crunch sound. And then the lead sound is that boosted, gainier version. A little bit louder, a little bit of extra EQ, and some delay and reverb sweetness on the back end. They're all based on the same amp. So if we look here at the amp block, Friedman HBE V1, channel A. I think we're just staying on that across. Yep, it's A, same amp, same amp. So it's same amp, same settings across all 4 presets. And just what happens is it's a pretty gainy sound. Now preset 2, the tight one, I just add this pre-EQ, which is essentially doing what you get from a distortion box. It's just not adding any gain. I found that all the drive blocks add noise, and so I just set a fairly gainy preset on the amp, and then I put this kind of stomp box EQ in there in order to tighten up the low end. So this is kind of I kind of like this one more than the crunch sound for the most part when I'm playing tight rhythms, but there are some big open rhythm parts where the regular sound really does the trick. So that's the reason for that one. So all we're adding is the EQ block, and I guess this gate comes on. Then now we add the drive box. And the drive box I'm using is the micro boost. The micro boost I've found sounds the most similar to the amp gain. So it's really just like if I had taken the amp block and turned up the gain. But keep in mind, I designed all these presets on an XL2 Plus. And I designed them all before gapless switching had been implemented. So in order to get a gapless switch between, the amp with the gain on 5 to the amp with the gain on 7, you had to use like a scene controller, or you had to switch channels on the amp, which had a gap in it. So all of those things were problematic. So I just used the micro boost because the gain from the micro boost sounds almost identical to the gain from the amp. Plus, it's easier to see what's going on. It's like, oh, yeah, I added the drive block. And that's just easier from a programming perspective to see things turn on and turn off rather than to see a setting inside the amp block change when you go from one to the other. So that's just for my own sanity. Then when we go to the lead, it's still the same amp. It's still the same. It's still the same amp. It's still the same drive block. And I've just added some, I think I added this EQ between the two. Yeah, that EQ comes on, which is just like a little dip right here, which is funny. It's 1700. Not sure why. Maybe to take the harshness of the pick attack out. And then some delay. Delay's the analog, mono delay. The reverb is a medium plate. And that's pretty much it. For the gain, I should just point out the cab here. And it's the same cab on all my presets. And it's a factory 412 AX V30 57. C, the 57, I think they go from brightest, like most dead center, across to the cone. So C is probably edge of the dust cap. And the M160. And then there is only slight panning, because I'm not really a stereo nut, because I want the people on the left side of the arena to hear the same thing the people on the right side of the arena hear. You know what I'm talking about? And the most important thing to check out here, and this is based on a conversation had with our front house sound engineer, is that the high cut is at about 5.1 on both, and the low cut is basically not on. But it's that high cut, because there was a lot of nastiness up above 5200, and that's how we got rid of it. It's just rolling it right off. So main thing is amp, and you can see the settings here. Maybe we played with the impedance curve here. That's a good thing to play with if you're having fun. And the cab with the roll-off. This EQ that I used to tighten it up. And then on all the presets, I think I'm using this clean amp is the JTM 45, and the cab is the same cabinet as I'm using on the dirty amp. And then we can check out the other presets, but it's going to be mostly the same stuff. And anything that requires swell scene 5, instead of being a clean, will be a version of the HBE, but now, wow, it's pretty gained up. I didn't even realize that. But it has less gating. It has this big delay and reverb that allows me to swell using the volume knob on the guitar. So that's an important thing. Let's see what's next. The alt preset has this interesting pre-EQ that I used to take a little bit of mud out of the guitar, and I kind of like the way that sounds on the lead. It's for the lead preset. I don't think it happens on the. It's kind of overall. All right, see, what are you gonna do? I don't remember everything I did. And then for the SG, is the amp different? The amp has a little less gain because those P90s, this the Fralin P90s, slightly overwound bridge position, is kicking. So that's what happens for the Oyomi model. Everything else pretty much the same. What do we got here? That's the alt preset, same thing. First Snow, the special is on scene 5, and that's the clean sound for like the outro, or the little arpeggio sections that happen every time around. And that's where I'm using this Bassman model, and it's got a chorus on it. And what else? That one. That's it. We did them all. I'm done. All right. That's it. Thanks for checking it out, and take care. All right. Bye.